Boker Tov. Good day. The 8th of Teves. Ready? Ready out there? Short. The Tzemach Tzedek instructed all the tutors of his young grandchildren that in addition to regular studies, they should teach the simple meaning of the prayers. Halavai that this should be taught in yeshivas here in New York. I don't know how it is elsewhere in the world, but that's what they have to learn. Remember the story of the Alter Rebbe when he hired a tutor for his son, the Mittler Rebbe? He gave an example of how to teach Aleph Beis, forget the davening, Aleph Beis. And he took an Aleph and he said, teach him that there's a Yud above, that's Hashem. There's a Yud below, this is the Pintala Yid, the Yid, and there's a connection between them, the line. And this here we're talking about prayers in general. The simple meaning, the pshat of prayers. Once a month the children came to their grandfather to be tested on the subject. The Tzemach Tzedek, the Rebbe, tested them on pshutis shel mikra, the simple understanding of what's written in the davening. All right, so today, like as every day, our learning is dedicated to bringing Mashiach. That's what we are about, and that seems to be in a certain way, in a way that I'm praying, and I think everybody is hoping will be the direction is where we're going. Very clear opportunity, let's put it that way. Hashem should bring it upon us, b'mheru yameinu mamish, the geula shlema. Amen. Refuah shlemas? Baruch ben Yamin ben Rachel. We tripped on each other. Go ahead, say it.
Dvor Rachel bat Miriam Chava and Baruch ben Yamin ben Rachel Blima.
Yes. The Korev. Anybody else?
Right.
Yehudas Golda Bas Chan Eliza Khan.
Eliza Khan. Her soul should have a refuah. She should have a refuah shlema. The Korev. Okay, let's start. Today's Tanya, 8th, we're starting a new parak. Chapter 7, page 123 in this book. And over here, over here we have Perek Zion, page Yud Aleph. Okay. Having done a number, given us a good explanation of the Klippas, Gimel Klippas of Tameas, and we still have our outstanding question from yesterday about since he said this is the soul of all the non-Jews. We have a question open about, therefore, where's their shaykhis, their relationship to the Sheva Mitzvahs, where's their relationship to the Torah in general, and the statement that everything they do, with even their kindness, is for self-interest. Is there such a thing as selflessness by a non-Jew in a true manner of the word? A question which is still hanging in the air, how to resolve all that. But the point of yesterday's Tanya was to give us, to begin a contrast, which is now going to contrast the structure of the soul of a non-Jew with the structure of the soul of a Jew, and particularly in terms of the fact that both Jews and non-Jews and all of us live in a world where not only all of us, but everything is a subject to the tzimtzum, where there's a covering, where there's a concealment. And he told us in non-Jews, the soul is so darkened, if you will, so covered, if you will, because the word is klippa, it's a kalippa which surrounds it, that is in the level of called the Gimel Klippas of Tameas, the 3 unclean klippas. And today he's going to contrast that with our souls, the souls of Jews. Let's start, Perek Zion. However, Nefesh HaChayunis HaBahamis Sheb'Yisrael, the enlivening animal soul which is in a Jew, Shemitzad HaKlippa, which is also from the Klippa, the way it presents itself down here below. It's in this world. It's invested in a body, and in two respects, it's covered. Remember, the Tanya begins first. I wish I could know how to mute people, but I don't. Maybe I can mute all. Okay, good. I got it. Okay. Good. So yeah, he started the Tanya describing the Nefesh Bahamas, and then told us later in chapter 2, however, Nefesh Shenis, the second, is the godly soul. So on the one hand, in one respect, the first respect, the Nefesh Bahamas is enclosed in and covered over by and invested inside the physical. And number two, it's also something which is before it's even invested in the physical, it's something which has gone through the channeling, the channeling down through to this world. And as a matter of fact, this world is the most thickest clip, is the darkest world. So, the Shema of a Jew, which is Mitzad HaKlippa, that's all to just point out that this Mitzad HaKlippa. Rivka, hand up.
I just wanted to bring back from yesterday's note, which I think is really important, which reminds us that even though we're the lowest of the low, it's totally connected with the highest of the high. That when we
the
talk
Orin
about
Sof is Nimsof, it fills its molecular orders. The Orin Sof fills this world, absolutely. And not only this world, but every world. However, the Orin Sof is going through, it's never contracted, right? The Orin Sof can't be contracted, but it goes through a contraction process, a channeling down and down and down. And so it's present, but the problem is that it is present, yet it's concealed in the klippa down here below. So this is, in a certain way, the subject of the whole book, which is our avoida is to take that Ein Sof reality which exists in each and every one of us, that infinite godliness which exists in each and every one of us, and break through the klippa. But back to our story, thank you. There are two kinds of klippas. The Gimel klippas, the Teves, and what we're now going to get into, which is klippas noiga. So the Jewish soul is also subject to that klippa phenomenon. Klippa, that's the second line. Now back into the second line. So the Jewish soul, the animal soul of a Jew, comes from a klippa. Hamalubeshes bahem ha'odam, the klippa in which the Jewish soul is Hamalubesh bedam ha'odam, which the klippa, the animal soul, is invested in, as we'll learn at length, the anatomy of the the animal soul and the godly soul, and where and how they express themselves in the body, which we'll learn later. But the klippa is clothed in the dam ha'odam, in the blood of a person. And we brought to the table a while ago a drush from Chassidus Adam. Adam is Aleph. Aleph is the Alufa Shaloilim. That's the Or Ein Sof, the infinite one, as it is enclosed dam in the blood down here below. Dam is also the word doimim, in the inanimate. Not only we have a godly soul, a godliness in us, but every single thing that exists has godliness in it. It can't exist without it. Even the inanimate, the dirt, is full of the Ein Sof as it channels down through. Okay, so this klippa, which is enclosed in the blood of a person, in the nefashis behemoths, and this talking about the animal soul here, and is enclosed as it's enclosed in the blood of a Jew. And it's also the nefashis behemoths and the souls of behemoths, v'chayas, v'oifis, v'dagim hatahoidim, and the souls of animals, but domesticated animals of the behemoths, and wild animals, the chayas, and the birds, and the fish, all of which are pure, the things we can eat, which are mutar b'achila, which are permissible in eating. Now he's giving us here a long list. This animal soul from the klippa, the klippa's noiga, which is invested in the blood of a person, and which gives life to the wild animals, the domesticated animals, and the fish, and who are permissible to eat. And also the life force which is invested in every deed and every speech and every thought that we do in this world. She'ein bohem tzad iser, those thoughts, speech, and deeds which don't have any aspect of forbiddenness to them. This is a list. And he goes on, the doesn't mean that they don't have any side of forbiddenness. They're not rooted in evil, nor is there any branch of evil in them. Any branch from the Shesha Mitzvahs, say from the 613 negative commandments, the Anfehem and their branches, the Raisa, the Rabbanim from the Torah and the words of the Rabbanim. Rak she'ein l'shem shemayim. So this was a list. We said the deeds that we do, even if there's a certain, and he's going to say an example of a deed we do that we're doing not l'shem shemayim, but we're doing it with something that's mutter, is all part of this klippus noiga, not the gimel klippus tameas. So, and we're doing this, he's on with this list, we're eating, let's say, lo l'shem shemayim, elaratzin haguf v'cheftzei v'tavasai. We're eating for our body, yeah, not a bad thing, but we're eating for the sake of the physical, and in a certain, and even more than that, we could be eating because this is our taiva. We are eating l'shem taiva, but we're eating something which is mutter, right? And even if this that you're doing is for the necessity of the body, the kiyumi v'chayuse mamish, so that the body will be healthy and the body will stand up. But it's not directed yet for Hashem. It's just, I want to be healthy. I want to be strong. I want to have a good body, right? I want to have a body that I can climb mountains with, etc., etc. So all those aspects we just mentioned are doing thought, speech, and in this case, deed, not for doing anything which is forbidden, but you're doing this thing but it's not for the sake of heaven. So this is klippus noiga. You're doing it. You haven't been doing it kedela avidas Hashem, to serve Hashem begufoy, with your body. So these activities, thought, speech, and deed that you're doing that are loy l'shem shemayim, they're on the par with the animal soul itself. They're not worse than the animal soul itself. They're not better than the animal soul itself. It's on a par. It's a klippus noiga. The hakol ka'asher lekol nishba v'nimshach mimedrega hashenis, and all of these activities that we listed here before, eating meat that's kosher, but not eating it l'shem shemayim, just to sum up a package of the things we've been talking about. All of these things, hakol ka'asher lekol nishba v'nimshach mimedrega hashenis. All of this flows out of and is drawn down from the second level of klippus, the second level of klippus, the sitra achra, the second level, meaning that we haven't talked about in detail. The first level we talked about in detail was the gimel klippus atameus, the impure ones. But this level is a level of klippus and a level of sitra achra and a level of the other side, because it isn't yet kedusha, right? It's not l'shem shemayim. Shehu klippus revius. And this klippa is a fourth. There are three unclean klippas. We mentioned each one of them separately yesterday from Yechezkel's vision. And the first, and this is a second group, which is the fourth, v'nikras klippas noiga. And it's called klippas noiga. A klippa, a shell, but through which passes light. There is some light passing through. A word that some other translators use is translucent. I don't know what letters in Tanya, how they translate it, but it's a shell, but it's a shell which light passes through. And he says, in this world, which is the world of doing, right? Also is the lowest of the four worlds, called the world of Asiya. In this world, Rubeka Kulura, most of it is bad. Most of it is in the domain of the Gimel Klippus Atameus. Rakma'at toiv, but there's a little toiv, ma'ura b'soichoi, mixed in within it. And he says, this is an interesting little bracket, shemimenu bois midos toiv shebenefesh shebahana shebisroel. And this is where the good midos come, meaning the naturally good midos. Remember, the nefesh Bahamas is the animating soul, right? So it's the soul which gives rise to everything which we would call natural, that we breathe in and out, right? Is a function of the animal soul. That our heart beats is a function of the animal soul. The animus, the animating power, right? So there, in this world, there is a little bit of light, which illuminates, let's say literally, in which comes the good attributes of the animal soul in a Jew, as we wrote about above. In chapter 1, we talked about that the Jew has naturally good midos, right? Even the Chazal say that a Jew is naturally compassionate. A Jew is full of mercy naturally. So the naturally good midos of a Jew come from this place, from the klippus noiga of the animal soul. And this klippus noiga is an intermediary between the gimel klippus tameus lagamri, the three unclean klippus on the one hand, and kedusha on the other side. Gimel klippus tameus on the bottom, kedusha up here, and the nefesh and the gimel klippus noiga in between. The light from above shines through and illuminates, and ultimately, as we will learn, capable of transforming the darkness into light. Therefore, so sometimes it's included in the three unclean klippus, and he writes where Reish Perek Daled b'Shem Azara. So sometimes we're this in middle state, right? It's very interesting. It just popped in my mind where this is all book is about the middle state, right? The Beinani. So this is the middle state between Kedusha and Gimel Klippus Atameus. So sometimes the Jew can fall into the downward level. So sometimes this Klippus Noiga falls down into the Gimel Klippus Atameus, as is written in Eitz Chaim, Shamim Tes, Reish Perek Daled, B'Shem HaZohar, in the name of the Zohar. And on the other hand, this middle soul, this Klippus Noiga, can rise into Kedusha. Dahainu. So we see, when does it rise? When it experiences the godliness, which it is really representative of. It's just that that godliness is within a klippa. So dahainu kishahatev hama'urav boy. So this is when the good, the kedusha, which is mixed in with this klippus naiga, nizbar mehara, is separated out, purified out from the evil, which is the opposite of kedusha. V'gaiver, and overcomes, strengthens itself, va'oila, and causes the kedusha to be exposed, va'oila v'nichla b'kedusha, and the force, the animating force now of the nefesh Bahamis rises up to kedusha. Higain, for example, derek moshe la'aycha basar shemina datura, one who eats juicy juicy meat of an ox, a cow, right? We're eating beef, juicy beef. The shoysa yayin mavushim, and drinks very nicely scented, fragrant wine. And let's say one does those two things, right? Involved in physical things, which it's kosher meat, of course, and kosher wine, but it's not, you know. And one does those things, lahachiv daite lahashem, for the purpose of, now we get the Shem Shemayim. He does those things, or she does those things, in order to open up his mind, to expand his or her mind to Hashem, into Hashem's Torah. Rava said, this is, he ate and drank very fragrant wine in order to open up his mind in his learning of Torah. Or another example of this, where the klippus noiga is being elevated to kedusha. I'm eating a lot. I'm eating with enjoying the flavor. I have tainug, but my tainug, as we say in Kiddush, tainug al Hashem. It's a tainug that comes from my eating for the participation in the Tainug of Hashem. And that's what we do on Shabbos and Yom Tov. So in those cases, one is rectifying, clarifying, and even separating out, bira, right? That's the separating out, rectifying, and also fixing the chayes habasar. We're fixing it so that it can go to even the higher place, which is above in kedusha. So we're fixing it. The chayes of the flesh and the yayin, shehoya nishba meklibas nager, which came down and flowed through through the level of called klippas nager, voila Hashem, and we're elevating it to Hashem, ki oila uka korban, just like when we take an animal in the Beis Hamikdash and we bring it onto the altar and we offer it up as a korban oila. The animal itself is rising up. So this is all avoida of the animal soul of a Jew. The Jew has the possibility and the responsibility and the ability to take his animal, his animus, and raise it up to Kedusha. And as we'll learn later, there's a big advantage in this because the animal has a huge amount of power. And the animal's source is from Olam HaTohu. It's strong. So we're taking all that physical energy with its physicality and its energetic of animalism and animus and raising it up to Kedusha. Or someone who says a joke, like so many speakers, right, open up with a joke in order to relax people and open them up so that they can take in now the Torah, which is going to follow the joke, to open up their minds, and to make them happy, to Hashem and His Torah, to make them happy and comfortable and enjoy serving God and learning His Torah and doing His avodah. Because Ivdu es Hashem b'simcha, a person has to be b'simcha. And if the joke can open you up, and if the meat that you eat, or whatever happens to be your treat that you like, you're eating it and it makes you feel good, and with that feel good, you serve Hashem, you learn Torah, etc. Because number one, you should be serving God b'simcha. Ivdu es Hashem b'simcha. Also, as we said, Rava did with his Talmidim. He opened up with a joke in order to warm them up for the learning. He would open up with a joke, a funny story, Tehillah at the beginning, and it says about them in the Bodche Rabbanim, and the Rabbanim would be cheerful. They would be happy, and the learning would be full of energy. And that's today's Tanya. So, any questions, comments? All about the animal soul of a Jew. Rivka, yeah.
What struck me mostly was that fine line between, and I think it's a pretty fine line, between elevating Klippas Noga and not elevating Klippas Noga.
Yeah.
It's a pretty fine line.
Right.
And it's a big deal.
You got it, sure is. It's the biggest deal, right? Because that's what we're here for. Not to fall into the pit of the physical, but to raise it up. Remember that pit?
It takes a lot of consciousness. It takes a lot of self-reflection and awareness and what they call mindfulness.
Absolutely. And that's why we're progressing here to the chapters, once we get past this and define the Beinoni, to a series of chapters which define very clearly, and I mentioned this, steps. Not 1, 2, 3, 4, but a whole number of different steps to do exactly what you're saying. Meditations, mindfulness, how to direct one's consciousness to this, because you need to. Well, we all need to, because the natural is what presents itself, and the super, above natural, is what's underneath it, and we have to bring that up from underneath and into consciousness, and he prescribes meditation after meditation after meditation. This is the long way, which is short.
And it doesn't matter how many, maybe it does matter. I mean, the more routine you get, the harder it may be also.
Yeah, become ingrained in these things. Exactly.
I was going to say it doesn't matter how long you've been doing what you think is the right thing, but it does matter because it's all about the moment.
Yep. Anybody else? Chayanka?
Hello. Hello, it's
wait a
Raisa.
minute. Rivka, you didn't have, no, Royce, you didn't have your hand up, so I have to take Chayanka first. She had her hand up. But hold that thought.
Okay, thank you.
Go ahead.
Good morning. It's interesting because I made a gathering here in this 55 and over community, and I tried to get Jewish women, and I got like about, I don't know, 15 Jewish women that are not religious at all.
Mm-hmm.
And they're so conscious of being Jewish and not fitting in anymore with their friends, neighbors, and spouses.
What do you mean? Do you mean that their Jewishness is separating them? What do you mean? Is that?
Yes. And they're uncomfortable.
Well, you've got
and separate.
You have a huge opportunity there, because that discomfort is the beginning of if you grab it, you can make them comfortable. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah.
But it's tough to do it the right way.
There's a beautiful mashal in Chassidus for this, about the formation of the pearl. How does an oyster create a pearl? Something comes into him and irritates him inside, and that causes certain secretions which result in the pearl. So you're right at the beginning point where you can turn that all into a pearl. Help them.
Hey, kol kavod.
Yeah. Right. Well, kol kavod, all of us. I'm sure we all encounter.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's grabbing these moments because these Pintel Yids are crying out right now. They're so uncomfortable. Hashem is making it so they're looking around and feeling different from their friends and their neighbors and Goyish family.
Yep. Beginning of Geula, basically. Okay. Thank you. That's very good. We'll get Roisa and then Elisheva's up also. Roisa, go ahead.
So, and right away, because this is not the first time doing Tanya, when you spoke about when there's this one sentence here, I don't remember the exact sentence, about elevating the Klipas Noga, I read, I know what's coming.
What do you mean you know it's coming?
Like, I know the chapter's coming ahead, that there will be a way to do this.
There will be many ways, and a whole list of things that we can do to do this, how to do the avoider, or the term that Rivka used, how to awaken the mind using the ability to be mindful, and ultimately that mindfulness is the whole deal, which is moyach shalat alaleh.
Yeah, so I also wanted to, if I may borrow, there is someone, the Chafetz Chaim, Zichron Livracha,
we've heard of him.
And he was talking about the man, that the man, either it just tasted, which wasn't a bad taste, it tasted, I think, like some kind of a pancake that had a taste of honey. But if you really thought about it, it could taste like whatever you wanted it to be. Yeah. It could have any taste. Yeah. So the Chafetz Chaim's conclusion on that was, if you don't think it has no taste, in Yiddish as man tracht nicht, hat es nicht kein Tam. But he wasn't referring only to the man. He was referring to everything we do.
Right.
So if we have that awareness that we're eating to serve Hashem, then we elevate the Klipas Noga. And if we're not thinking, then it has no taste.
Good. Elisheva. Go ahead, Elisheva.
Well, I heard what Chayanka said. And first of all, wow. Yeah. And also my best friend, actually, who I met when she was sending her kids to my preschool and then they moved to Oregon, is married to a non-Jew. And her mother just passed away, and I went to be with her, and she was expressing to me also how alienated she feels with her husband's family, and I kind of don't know how to help her because they have 4 kids, Rabbi Krasniansky just came out with this book on intermarriage, and I sent her the link. But I feel bad. I mean, what are we telling these families?
Well, what do you mean telling? She feels bad. She's in her relationship with her non-Jewish husband. Is that the kernel of it or not?
Yeah, I mean, she she already has kids with him, but she loves him. He's her partner. She wants to be with him. But also at the same time, she feels like he doesn't get it. Like she's so Jewish and alive, and he's like dead. Like
okay. So we have to help him become alive because he has a place in Torah, right? Everybody has a place in Torah, and the only true chayas is Torah. Now, maybe you can't use those words because Torah sounds very Jewish, right? But we have to help him see his place in God and godliness and his inclusion in the Ein Sof, because everything is in the Ein Sof. We have to help him with that in as kind a way as possible, and in a way that I would advise, this is just my advice, that doesn't focus on the Jewish words, because he feels, there's a separation. There's Jew and non-Jew. Bring him and her at the same time into the place where we're both, and all of us are one with Hashem. Somehow.
Yeah, I think the focus on the woman is very, very important. So she feels she feels proud and comfortable, and then she'll be a welcoming.
Right.
He's like an atheist. He's like so obtuse. And
well, we're not going to be easy, this one, but we know where everybody needs to go, right? Everything needs to go, right? It needs to go to an awareness of its inclusion in the all. And it's tough, yeah. I mean, look, when anyone is locked into an ideology, no matter what it is, that's what the expression is. It's locked. It's very hard to open that lock. But the only way you can do it is by getting to know these people really well, befriending them more, deeper, and finding the touch points.
And doing it with simcha. That's what we learned in this parak too. The importance of having joy, and you're in the positive things you're doing, that attracts other people.
And you can't lay it on them in any way. Like, you're really genuinely, openly, and happily interested in them.
Yeah. That's the only way I know how to be in a relationship. That part of my life where I was a shlucha for people I didn't care about is finished. Anyway.
Yeah. In this part of your life, you care about everything and everybody.
And I give my all. I give my whole soul and being to whoever I'm relationshiping with.
Well, that's all you can do. And that will bring him around. Love conquers all. It does. All ideologies melt in the face of love eventually, and with the right, I hope that helps in some respect. I think it helps just to talk about it. To help.
I think it helps. It helped the idea that you have to find from his perspective, from his Goyish perspective, how he could connect,
right,
and be more. That's kind of helpful.
I always quote, and I've mentioned this many times in this class, a teaching that Manas Friedman taught me when I was little to Yiddish guy. Say what they need to hear, not what you need to say. And that's totally important. In other words, the message may be the same. You want them to know about God and godliness. But say it in a way that they need to hear it, not the way you need to say it.
That's another takeaway. Thank you.
Yeah.
That's deep. That's a good one.
Yeah. Reza, are you back?
I just wanted to say, for whatever this is worth, I had a chavrusa for a long time, maybe 5 years, before she actually came in and told me that she was married to a non-Jew. Like, we were Torah study partners once a week, and she actually lived in Oregon, Clackamas, Oregon. So when she told me this, that she's married to a non-Jew, I felt kind of this feeling of like, so what now? But when I asked, so that time I was in Machon Chana, so I asked Rabbi Silverstein, because he was up when we had Machon Chana in Tannersville, he was the scholar then. So he said, why are you so surprised? He said, most Jews who you are going to be reaching out to today are married to non-Jews. It's a tragedy of our time.
Right.
So don't be so shocked, because like if you find someone who's married to a Jew, that's great. But then besides that, he emphasized to me at the time that every mitzvah is eternal. And that sort of gave me a direction. Like my goal is not for her to be me. Any mitzvah. So like, for instance, one of the things I proposed to Bonnie was kashrut. And I didn't propose to her that she should keep a kosher home. I proposed to her that she shouldn't eat milk and meat together. That's also a mitzvah.
Okay. Yeah, as I said, meet the person where they are. That's the deal. Where they are, start with them and know that you embrace them where they are. And move from there. Okay, we're going to, I think, wrap up. We're a little over time, but with that, I mean, these are tremendous bechenos, right? It gives us a way to walk, a way to greet, a way to encounter everybody that we're seeing today. Okay, I'm going to end this, and thank you. We'll see you tomorrow in Mir Hashem. Bye-bye.